Hello, everyone. I'm a bit late today. How are you all? I am speaking today about hypnotherapy and whether or not hypnotherapy is genuinely real, if it works, and how it relates to the stage hypnosis that we see on TV. And I think the topic of today is hypnotherapy or hypnotrickery. So let's get started. Normally I prepare a little bit for these things, but I'm actually getting married in 2 days and I'm a little bit unorganized at the moment. So let's just go with whatever comes into my mind about this topic, because sometimes it's good to just speak candidly and be a little bit real. I became a hypnotherapist because it actually is a very, very powerful modality of change. And the reason it's so powerful is because when we're using therapy like talk therapy, and we're conversing, we're discussing our problems, we're rehashing them, reliving them, sharing them, wallowing in them, whatever, analyzing them, trying to understand, looking for solutions with our conscious mind, we're often not making very much progress because all the stuff that's in our mind is just going around and around. Like it's like, recycling the same stuff over and over again. Whereas with hypnosis, we are actually going into a more suggestive state. Our brain waves are slowing down. So as a adult, a cognitive, neurotypical adult, we would spend almost all our time in beta brainwaves, the fastest brainwaves. We're operating at a very, very conscious level, and our emotions and imagination and all that sort of stuff are underneath. Even our body awareness, like our connection to ourselves, everything like that is sort of all happening in the background. Hypnosis is a really, really good way to switch off that cognitive, conscious operating system and get into the root cause of stuff. And people, when I'm doing therapy with people, they come out and they like, I love it because they come out and they go, wow, whoa, that was weird. That was some weird stuff. And it's really, really good. Everyone wonders, especially if they've never had hypnosis before, what is it like? They wonder, will it work on me? And I want to just have a bit of a chat around that kind of stuff. So first of all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Nobody can force you into a hypnotized state against your will. We all access states of trance on and off through the day. You know that thing where your child's going, mum, 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 and you're like, nah. That's, you're off in a trance somewhere. You're in your head. There's like an internal hyper focus going on there. And then you turn around and you're like, what? We all go into trance on and off through the day and have our own thing. Now, anytime that you're using your imagination, and usually repetition, there's something going on an unconscious level. So it's good to be able to deliberately access this stuff for change. Now, you can't really do that yourself, and I've tried it. I know all the processes and I know how to do this stuff, and I start taking myself through a process, but the minute my brainwaves slow down to a certain point, I can't lead myself anymore. So it's like I can go to a certain point and then off I drift, and it's no longer, it's directionless. It's not guided anymore. It's not directed. The processes aren't happening, and then I might drift off to sleep. So the reason that it's important to have a therapist leading you through a hypnosis process is because hypnosis is interactive. It's not done to you or for you. It's done with you. And so you're always in control. You're always aware. You're always conscious of at some level of what's going on. Even if you can't remember everything when you come out at the time, like I'll say to clients, nod your head when you're ready to move on, or, ask them a question where they can give an answer. And what I notice is that people will mumble and speak really softly, and I'm thinking, I'm having trouble understanding this person, but they're like, Yeah, I'm sort of in a sort of like they talk really mumbly, and I'm trying to write down what they're saying so I can get the information that we need to move on with the processes. So hypnosis is most certainly effective because it's working from the unconscious to the conscious. Now, all rapid change happens unconsciously. Conscious change is really slow. So, for example, if I decided I wanted to take up a new habit, I'd have to consciously, deliberately start discipline. I have to set an alarm on my phone every day. I want to do this. I want to make my bed every morning. I'm going to do it, or whatever. And conscious choices, conscious change, it's like starting at the top and you're kind of like chipping down, whereas unconscious stuff, it's like poof, it just shifts stuff. We're all operating from an unconscious place when we're showing up in the world. Our emotions come up unconsciously. We don't choose like how we're going to respond or react. We can consciously be aware. We can observe what's going on and then make some choices. But definitely 100%, if there's behavioral change needed, if there's emotional change, if there's experiential change, definitely hypnosis is one of the most amazing and effective methods of creating change. And it doesn't mean that you can walk into a hypnotherapist's office and say, hey, I want to, whatever it is, eat only healthy food, and boom, after one session, there's going to be a shift that takes you from, one thing to another. There's everything, all change happens in stages. So if you can imagine, how you became you to begin with, like you went to a certain school, you hung around certain people, you heard certain things, you learned certain things, you had certain experiences, and you became a certain way, and you're operating in that way in your life. And it's kind of the same thing when we're doing hypnosis. We might shift something. So for example, you might shift fear of being hurt in a relationship, and then you might go off and discover that you're actually feeling confident and secure in your relationships. You might find that you're actually attracting good partners in your life. And then you travel along in life, and then suddenly you realize that, you've come to another point where you need to do, or you want to do something else. And there's layers and layers and layers and layers of stuff that are always great to work on. And I have this in me as well with my life that, as I move along the road, it's like the scenery changes, and then I might need different tools, different resources, different strengths, have to face different fears or different emotional things. So stage hypnosis, I want to talk a little bit about that. Everyone is capable of going into trance. There are about 1 in 10 people is highly suggestible, highly susceptible to going into trance. Now, when you see someone doing stage hypnosis, those people have pre-qualified who is suggestible, who isn't suggestible. And everything that those people do on stage is they want to be doing that. It's like when I do a session with somebody and I ask them a question or whatever, they might come to the end of the session and they might say, and I've had this so many times, like I like the part where, they might describe some particular part, and I'm thinking that wasn't in the hypnosis, because your mind creates its own things. And then I might say, what was it that you were experiencing when you said this? And they're like, did I say that? I don't remember saying that. So you do, when you're in trance, it's a bit like that little part between sleep and awake where you're off in your head and you're having kind of experiences. I remember one session where I was the client, and I remember I sat down in the chair and we started you start with hypnosis. There's stages of the hypnosis. So you start with an induction. So that induction is, going into your body, taking deep breaths and, relaxation and whatever. There's different ways to do it, different methods, but it's an induction. It's basically taking you inside internal focus. And then we do deepeners. Deepeners take you deeper and deeper into that trance state. And I remember the therapist that I was the client for, it was actually part of a training that I was doing, started the induction, and I suddenly realized that I was really, really cold. Like my feet and arms were cold. I was just thinking, oh, I need a blanket, but he's already started. I'm freezing. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to sit here for the whole time feeling this cold. And I just listened to his voice, and the next thing you know, I don't remember anything about cold, and it was like 45 minutes later, because you actually can lose time. So there's a time distortion. So I love to ask people when they at the end of their hypnosis session, how long do you think that went for? And they'll be like, 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, that was 50 minutes. And they're like, what? Oh my goodness, that felt so quick. And I love that you lose that time. There's a complete time distortion. It's one of the things that, had that thing where time can either be really slow, like if you're in pain, 30 seconds is like unbearably long. But if you're having fun, then, 3 hours is really fast. So there's that part of it as well. The change that happens during hypnosis sessions isn't like a boom, my mind just exploded and I walk out a different person. It's more that you can notice on hindsight and reflection how far you've come when you are looking back. So 12 months ago, and especially with client notes, like I'll look back and I'll see what someone presented with when they came in, and they might come for one session, they might come for 3 sessions, and they might come back 2 months later, and it might get to like 9, 10, 12 months down the track, and you look back and you're like, wow, like they're walking in, sitting in the chair, hi, how are you, blah blah blah, and you're like, do you remember that when you came in, this was a problem, that was a problem, this was a problem? They're like, wow, that none of that stuff would even raise my interest right now. It doesn't affect me at all. And then it'll be like, what I have been finding, I'm feeling a lot of irritation with my mother, and I want to work through that, or whatever it is that comes up, frustration at work, or different things. And so with therapy, using hypnotherapy, it's very gentle, and it's very there's not a lot of talk. There's as much or as little talking as you want to share. So I don't say to someone, "Oh, tell me a story about this," or "Tell me a story about that," which is really nice for everybody, for the client and for me, because I think we get over telling our story. We get over having to run through every event over and over again, and it's nice to be able to just do it in our mind and have our own experience of it, and for me to just get enough information that I know what it is that is needed in the session. With entertainment, with the hypnosis parts of things, so just to explain a little bit about why we go into trance, aside from the fact that we're internally focused, so we're sort of losing some of our conscious processing faculty, is that there's an element of confusion. So a lot of it is language patterns. So if we're using patterns of language that gets the conscious mind stuck on over here, then the unconscious mind we can slip embedded command in. So what that means is that while the conscious mind's looking this way, we're slipping in something like, and what would a command be? Something, let's talk about smoking. And you are now a non-smoker, and smoking absolutely disgusts you. The smell of smoke makes you feel quite sick, just like that whatever horrible thing is that you're introducing. So it's about the distraction and confusion of the conscious mind and the slowing down of the brain waves, so that the mind is more receptive to suggestion, so more suggestible, and then being able to give that person a certain experience and programming. So imagination, trance, repetition, and emotion are really, really powerful when combined to be able to induce change. And change is what we're all about when we're looking at therapy, because the reason people go into a therapist is because there's something in their life that they don't want. There's an experience that they're having that they're not enjoying, or there's something that they would like to have that they don't have. So it's kind of like, what am I currently feeling, thinking, or experiencing that I don't want to experience or feel or think anymore? And what would I like to experience more of that I'm not having in my life at the moment? So it's about shifting from that, the I don't want to what I do want. And actually sometimes it's about even building a bit more clearer understanding of what it is that I'm going through and what I'd like instead. Because a lot of the time we're like, I don't want to overeat. I don't want to feel overweight. I don't want to be 150 kilos. I don't want to smoke anymore. I don't want this. I don't want that. And it's all the things about what I don't want, not focusing on what is it that I actually want instead. There are a lot of other therapies that combine really well with hypnotherapy. A lot of psychotherapy goes well with hypnotherapy. A lot of somatic therapies go beautifully with hypnotherapy. So a lot of that stuff can be very healing as well, like, physically healing, changing health issues and stuff like that, which is really, really powerful and amazing. I know I had cancer back in 2002, and I was very, very much of the opinion that I wanted to work up here as well as, do the chemotherapy and the nutrition and all the stuff, because when you do have a sickness or a physical health issue, it becomes like a focus on there's two focuses really. It's back to that what I don't want and what I do want. And one is I don't want to have this condition, and the other one is I want to be healthy. So being able to work on that using hypnosis, using NLP, using EFT, using other somatic therapies and things like that can be really, really helpful, because even just like from a statistical point of view, people who can keep their mind in the right place have such a higher recovery rate, longer lifespans, things like that. Now, hypnotherapy, aside from, being useful for therapy, it's great for lowering anxiety levels, lowering stress levels, being able to reduce cortisol in the body. Meditation and hypnosis they do have things in common. The difference between a meditation and a hypnosis, I guess, is that a meditation is just more of a nice, relaxing. It doesn't really have the goal, like the therapy part. And in a say if I do a hypnosis session, if I did an hour, it would probably be obviously some pre-talk and then induction, deepener. The actual part where the change happens is only maybe 10 minutes. There's 10 minutes right in the middle where some really powerful stuff happens, and then we integrate all that and then do an exduction, and then after that there's some post-suggestion as well, and making sure that the person is out of trance, because you don't want to walk out and kind of be like off in your head somewhere, and how you see people that aren't concentrating and they do really silly things because they're off. I do it all the time actually, put your phone down over here and then walk away and things like that. So I hope some of that's been interesting. If you've never done hypnosis before, I highly recommend trying it, especially if you've got things that you want to work on in your life, in yourself, in your family, in the way you're processing and experiencing life. If there's things that you think, I don't want to feel this, think this, say this, be this, do this, have this, and there's things that you'd like instead, really, really good. It's not a magic bullet. There is no magic bullet when it comes to being the best version of you. There is always steps. So I just had in my mind then a picture of a rowboat. If you wanted to go in that direction, you know, or that whichever way you row, you would, you know, keep paddling. So using the techniques and tools available to you, keep moving yourself in the right direction. And that's like that with everything in life, moving one step closer to being the best version of you, feeling the way you want to feel in your day, and having the life that you want, whether it's, you know, more of something or less of something, whether it's having, you know, less stress in your life, more time in your life, more friends, more enjoyable moments, whatever it is. There's always ways that we can do that. And the amazing thing about what I love about the unconscious mind is you could never think of the solutions that your unconscious mind will bring you consciously. I have sat there and it's always amazed me, is I've thought, you know, how can I solve this problem? And I come up, and I'm a very lateral thinker. I can think of a lot of solutions, and you think, how do I solve this problem? And when you actually use hypnosis to find solutions or to access your higher self or unconscious mind or whatever you want to call it, the way that your problems resolve or change, it always astounds me how resourceful we actually are on an intuitive level. Like we are not just thinkers, we're definitely feelers. We've got our heart and our gut and our mind all connected, and our unconscious is kind of running all of that, or is part of all of that. Anyway, I have one more day left before I get married on Friday, and which also was, you know, after nearly 11 years in a relationship, and I shifted a few blocks around commitment, which actually was not directly due to, I had commitment issues around time. Hang on, I'll tell you this story before I go. I had commitment issues around time, and I suddenly realized I had this poverty mindset around time. People would say, oh, do you want to come to this thing in, you know, next week? And I'd be like, oh, next week, I can't commit to next week. That's just too far away. I hated commitment. And I realized that I had this thing. I started recognizing that time and being accountable to having to be somewhere or do something was really a problem for me. And I started clearing that. And it turns out that I had some other commitment issues. I always thought, oh, it doesn't matter if I'm married or not. But interestingly, when I cleared this other commitment issues, boom, next thing you know, engaged and walking down the aisle. So it is all related. There are a lot of things that we're not aware of, or pretty much everything in the unconscious. We're not aware of what's there. And what I love to tell people is, if you don't know we don't know what's in our unconscious. We can access it through trance, through hypnosis, but we don't know what's in there. But if you want to know what's in your unconscious mind, simply look at your life. Everything that you have in your life, including those things that you're grateful for and those things that you wish weren't there, they're all there because they're in your unconscious mind. And anything that's not in your life is not in your life because it's not programmed into your unconscious. And you can shift that stuff using hypnotherapy. Definitely hypnotherapy is a thumbs up. Definitely not hypnotrickery. It really is good stuff, and it does work. And interestingly, last point, there are no recorded injuries or negative impacts from hypnosis. No injuries. We can't go into hypnosis and have a bad trip or, you know, something awful happen. It's perfectly 100% safe and natural. Have a fantastic night. Thanks for watching. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. If you are watching on Facebook or on LinkedIn or wherever I'm streaming to, please give me a like, a comment, anything like that. Always good for the social media algorithms. Talk soon.